All right, so today we're diving into two completely different playbooks for how to get through modern life. You've got one that's all about finding meaning when everything feels like chaos, and the other, well, that one's a pretty ruthless guide to gaining power in a world that's always competitive.
I mean, it's a question we all have to ask ourselves, right? Life can feel so random, sometimes unfair, just full of conflict. So, how are you supposed to navigate all that? Are you trying to build something real and true from the inside out? Or are you playing a big strategic game to win on the outside? These two books have some starkly different answers.
So, on one side, you've got 12 Rules for Life, which calls itself an antidote to chaos. The whole focus there is internal, how to get your own mind and your own life in order. Then you flip the coin and you've got the 48 Laws of Power, the ultimate guide to gaining control, which basically sees the world as this external battlefield that you have to dominate. One is all about finding order, the other is all about getting the win. So let's start with this first one, the path of meaning. This philosophy kind of argues that life, just by its very nature, is filled with sorrow and suffering. And the goal isn't to try and escape that reality, because you can't, but to face it head on with personal responsibility and with truth. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. This idea is fundamentally against the idea of safety at all costs. The thinking is, hey, trying to wall yourself off from reality, it's impossible. The serpent always finds a way into the garden. So if you overprotect someone, say a child, you're not actually saving them. You just become the new problem in their life. Real meaning, then, isn't found in being sheltered, but in actually developing the skills and the strength to face the world as it really is. Okay, so how do you build that strength? How do you possibly create order out of the chaos of, say, a really tragic event? Well, according to this worldview, the number one tool you have is conversation. When you tell your story, you're not just venting. You're actively organizing all those chaotic events inside your own head, giving them a structure and making them make sense. If you don't do that, you just become a hoarder of all these unprocessed experiences. And this right here really drills down on the specific kind of conversation it's talking about. It's not about debating or even giving advice. It's a genuine listening conversation. It's where one person just speaks and everybody else just listens with sympathy. It's the community's input that helps the individual mind find its own integrity. As the source material says, it takes a village to organize a mind. Okay, now let's just do a complete 180. Let's pivot to a totally opposite way of seeing the world. Forget organizing your mind with shared vulnerability. The game of power sees the world as a court, just filled with rivals. And you can't just opt out of the game. If you try, you just become a pawn for someone else. So the goal here isn't truth, it's strategic advantage. And wow, the rules are brutal. There's just no room for half measures. You've got Law 15, crush your enemy totally. The idea is if you leave even one little ember smoldering, a fire's gonna break out later. And forget authenticity. Law 3 says to always conceal your intentions. Just throw decoys out there so people never see what you're really doing. You see, this whole worldview is obsessed with control. Control the information by saying less than you need to. Control your opponent's choices by dealing them a hand where every single card benefits you. And control their state of mind by being deliberately unpredictable, keeping them off balance, even terrified. Because in this game, if you're predictable, you're giving your opponent a sense of control over you. And it just goes on and on. Every single part of life is a strategic move. Your reputation, that's not a reflection of your character. It's the cornerstone of your power. It's a tool you use to intimidate and win. Being timid is dangerous. Being bold is admired. And even what you want personally is a weapon. By showing contempt for something you can't have, you actually seem superior. It is a completely totalizing philosophy of control. So here's where it all comes to a head. You've got this fundamental clash in how you're supposed to interact with other people. One philosophy sees conversation as this almost sacred tool for creating order and finding truth. The other sees it as just another opportunity for deception, another way to get an edge. And this table just lays it all out so clearly. The path of meaning, its goal is to organize the mind, and the method is genuine, sympathetic conversation. The whole assumption is that truth and community are what make you strong. But the game of power? The goal is strategic advantage. The method? The source puts it perfectly. In polite social encounters, learn to probe. Ask indirect questions to get people to reveal their weaknesses and intentions. The assumption there is totally different. It's that deception and control are what create real power. So, after laying out these two completely opposing manuals for modern life, the question really turns back to us, doesn't it? I mean, these aren't just abstract ideas, they represent real choices we make every single day in our jobs, in our relationships, even in our own heads. It makes you wonder which manual you're actually using and if you're even aware of it.
It really does boil down to this. Are you playing to be authentic, to try and align your actions with some deeper sense of meaning and truth? Or are you playing to win, using whatever strategies are most effective to get that victory and control your environment?
But here's the final twist, the question to really chew on. Are these two paths actually mutually exclusive? I mean, is it possible to live a life of meaning while also being aware of the power games being played all around you? Can you be strategic, but in the service of an authentic goal? Or does chasing one of these things inevitably corrupt the other? And ultimately, that all leads to the biggest question of all, the one that only you can answer. When you strip everything else away, what are the rules that you actually live by? And what kind of world do those rules end up creating?